see. I have 2 packages here on my desk that I would like to open with you. Well, I technically have already opened them, so they wouldn't be as noisy, but I want to show you their contents. And as you can see on this packaging, these are from Thriftbooks. This says the largest online used bookstore. So I have some books here that I would like to do a little haul with. And I ordered these a little while ago, and then I just got really busy and never really got the chance to really open them up, and I was reading other books anyways. But I think I remember what I ordered, because some of these books I've been really looking forward to, but I feel like there's one that I am forgetting, because I think that I have 4 books in here. And this was one order, but they sent them in 2 separate packages. I think because sometimes they come from different housing facilities, maybe. I don't actually know. But I have used Thriftbooks before and typically like them. I usually like to try and get my books used at local thrift stores if I can, and sometimes there are books that I just really want and I'm having a tough time finding them or finding a good quality version, so I will get it new. But Thriftbooks is a great resource for me that I've used every now and then to get some used books a little bit cheaper. And I've also used them a lot when I was in college to get some of my textbooks cheaper. So I can't really speak to the company as a whole, but I enjoy the books that I've gotten. They haven't ever been like in terrible condition or anything, but I usually go for books that say that they're like in okay condition. But overall, I think that all of my orders have turned out okay. So I'm going to move one of these packages, and then we can dive right in and take a look at some books. This packaging is very, very crinkly and a little bit loud. As you can see, I already cut the edges off just to make it easier to access. So let's go ahead and grab out your first item. This feels like a little insert. So it says, sell your books with Thriftbooks buyback. So it looks like this might have some more information on that. I've never actually sold any of my books to Thriftbooks, so I can't speak to how that process works or how good the process is. But I might take a look at that later. The first book is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood, and this is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. I actually don't know anything about this book. I don't know if we're going to see similar characters or if it's entirely different characters. I have absolutely no clue. But I knew that I loved The Handmaid's Tale. Somebody had recommended The Testaments, and it was recently new, like within the last decade, I think. So I wanted to give it a read. I really loved Margaret Atwood's style, her writing style, so I definitely wanted to pick this up. So this says, the Republic of Gilead maintains its repressive grip on power, but it is beginning to rot from within. At this crucial moment, two young women with radically different experiences of the regime will come face to face with the legendary, ruthless Aunt Lydia. But how far will each go for what she believes? Okay, so that's interesting. So we do kind of revisit Aunt Lydia. So as you can see, this book does have a little bit of wear right here in the corner, a little bit on the edges, but overall, I think that it looks okay. It looks like a book that's been read, which I'm okay with. And this one is kind of a decent size. Let's see how many pages. Can't tell if this is archive. Those are acknowledgements. So about 415 pages, I think. That might be an end section, I'm not sure, but somewhere around there. So it's a decent size. I have been really looking forward to getting this book because I flew through The Handmaid's Tale. I had not read it until this fall. Somehow I had just missed it. And I just absolutely loved it. I mean, obviously the story is incredibly difficult, right? Like, if you have not read The Handmaid's Tale, I mean, you might still know what it's generally about. I feel like it has pretty large cultural relevance, but it's definitely a difficult emotional read, but I feel like the style it was written in was a very easy read for me. Like, it just read really well. So I'm very much looking forward to this book. I'm not sure if this one's going to be my next read. I think I kind of want it to be. But we shall see. And I think that this one should be pretty good. I've heard really good things about this. I love this cover. I love the green. Because the original book was red, and it was largely the perspective of a handmaid, and they wore red. So this one I think could be pretty interesting, and I'm definitely very excited for it. I did notice that they have this little sticker on here that I think just helps them kind of catalog their books that they get in. But, I mean, again, I'm not picky necessarily about the condition of this book. I knew that they were used books. I don't remember exactly what conditions I ordered, but I never ordered the, brand new ones. So, this one is, in perfectly fine condition for me. But if you're somebody that's really picky about your book, reasonably so, if you want them to look really nice on your bookshelf, just be aware that they do add these little stickers that I know sometimes can damage the spines when you try and remove them or leave sticky residue. So just, be aware of that. So this was the first book in my order. Like I said, I'm very excited about this one. I think it'll be another tough read because, Gilead is not a very pleasant thought experiment. But I think that it should be a really good read. I'm going to set that off to the side. Let's go ahead and grab another book. I think each package which only has 2 books. This book here is actually kind of large, but it feels really hefty. This is like a self-defense book. So this book is called What the Eyes Don't See, a story of crisis, resistance, and hope in an American city. And this is by the author, Dr. Mona Hanna-Attisha, I think is how her last name's said. I'm not entirely sure. But this book is about Flint, Michigan, and the doctor that kind of, along with her patients, raised some flags about the water crisis going on in Michigan and how unsafe the drinking water was. And this one, let's see. Oh, these are all just some praise for the book. Let's see if it has anything inside. The dramatic story of the signature environmental disaster of our time, and an inspiring tale of scientific resistance by a relentless physician who stood up to power. So I'm not going to read this full thing, but I had heard about Dr. Mona's book and that she had written a book, and the story, I know a little bit about the story of kind of her raising the flags, working alongside patients, testing, children's like lead levels and doing all of that, and basically being given the cold shoulder from public officials and even within the scientific community. But she felt strongly that her methods had been correct, that the family's experiences were true and honest, and I think that this seems like a wonderful story of, a great, story of crisis, resistance, and hope. It sounds like a story that I would really, really love to read more about, just from my public health background. And it seems like such a difficult situation to have been put in, but for those families and for Dr. Mona to push through and really, say there really is something going on here is like, it's just really inspiring, I think. And I love this book cover. It almost looks like a watercolor, and I think that's really quite clever with it being about the water crisis in Flint. And it's like white, and it has these blue like splotches, but it's very, very pretty. And if you didn't know it was about water, you might even think these are like clouds or something, which also could go with, what the eyes don't see, like kind of cloudy vision, that type of thing. But this one is a hefty, hefty book. And I did get the hardback version of this. I'm usually not too picky about hardback versus like paperback. There we go. But this one, it was like the same price, I think. And I figured it was like they only had new versions of the paperback, or they had used versions of the hardback. So I figured that I would just get the hardback copy. So I am very excited about this one. I think this one is going to be an interesting read. I haven't ever read any of Dr. Mona's, research or papers, or I imagine that she's probably done lots of articles and essays, so I don't know exactly if I will vibe with her writing style, but the story itself think seems really interesting. So I am excited for this one. And it's interesting to have it be kind of a step away from my fiction series that I've been or not series, but fiction books that I've been going through. So this one I think should be pretty good. It makes very lovely sounds. Alright, that is everything, I believe, in this package. Yes. And let's take a look at the second package that I also believe has 2 books. The way I did that made it look like it's 4, but just 2 books. This book here is another Stephen King book. I really enjoy Stephen King books. I mean, he has so many. And his writing style is just so easy for me to read. I usually do a Stephen King book in between my other books. And this one is The Long Walk. And it was originally written under his pen name, Richard Bachman. And I believe that this was his first ever published book. And this one in particular is the 45th anniversary edition. And this book is actually being turned into a movie. I don't think the movie is out yet, but I had seen some trailers for it, and it has been on my TBR list, or my to be read list, and I figured, I've known about the book, it's been on my list, I figured I would like to read the book before seeing the movie, and I wanted to pick this one up. So this one is just a little paperback, and there is a little description about the book on the back. It says, against the wishes of his mother, 16-year-old Ray Garrett is about to compete in the annual grueling match of stamina and wits, known as the Long Walk. 100 boys must keep a steady pace of 4 miles per hour without ever stopping, with the winner being awarded the prize, anything he wants for the rest of his life. I'm not going to read the rest of that, but that premise on its own sounds really interesting. Very, Hunger Games-esque in my mind. A lot of the time, some of his books aren't always, the most creative, but the way that he puts the stories together and the characters together, I think is always really fascinating. To me, I feel like he writes really interesting characters that even the villains, I usually want to learn more about them. And so he does that really well to me. And I have been looking forward to this book because, like I said, it's been on my list for a while. I do have some other Stephen King books on my list. I don't think I have any here, already owned that I haven't read yet, so I think this is my next Stephen King book that I could read. But I think that there are a few that I've been looking for every time I go thrift shopping, or we have a local, used bookstore, and I'll swing in there and kind of take a look at what they have and see if any new Stephen King books have come in that I haven't read already. So this one I Goodreads. I think this had like, pretty okay reviews. It wasn't like terrible. So I am looking forward to this also because I have read so many Stephen King books from different points in his career. I think that this will be really interesting for me to read something as his like first published novel, and maybe be able to see perhaps how his writing style changed through the decades, through his career. So I'm also excited for that aspect and just to kind of see, where he started. I don't know if this is the first book he wrote or just the first book that was published. I don't recall. But either way, fairly early in his career. So I am pretty excited about this one. It's not that Stephen King books are like fun reads. Usually the stories aren't like filled with fun and happiness, but they're like easy reads for me. And interesting reads, because there are some books that I think are like really good books, but kind of hard to get through. And I feel like I've never really experienced that with Stephen King. And I had even read the like uncut version of The Stand, which was like 1,400 pages or something like that. And it was one of those books like it felt like it took me forever, but it was one of those books that I wanted to read. I was like looking forward to reading it because I wanted to see where the story was going, what the characters were gonna do, and how everything kind of pieced together. So this one, let's see how many pages this one has. This one looks like it has 391 pages, I think. Not too long, but also not a real short story like The Body. So again, I'm looking forward to this. I think I've said that with all of these books. I'm looking forward to all of these books. That's why I purchased them. But this one in particular has been on my list for so long. Alright, I think I just have one more book in this lovely crinkly packaging. Here's another little insert. I don't really need that. Let's take a look at the last book that I have. I'm gonna move this packaging because this is another kind of hefty book. Another book that I like to call a self-defense book. So this book, again, is pretty large, like What the Eyes Don't See, and it is a hardback book. And this one is Killers of the Flower Moon. And this is about the Osage murders and the birth of the FBI. So the Osage tribe, I think that it's Osage tribe. I feel like I've heard a few different pronunciations, but I think that that's kind of what I've heard the most. And this book, I have heard that it is a phenomenal book. And then it was turned into a movie. And I feel like the movie was pretty big. And I think ended up getting a few awards. And this cover is beautiful. It's this deep, deep, like red sunset. And the writing is lifted just a little bit. It's almost like puffed up. And so you can kind of feel it. And then these gold words are almost like a gold foil. And so they just kind of shine and show. its reviews. Let's take a look inside and see if it has a little description for us. In the 1920s, the richest people per capita in the world were members of the Osage Indian Nation in Oklahoma. After oil was discovered beneath their land, they rode in chauffeured automobiles, built mansions, and sent their children to study in Europe. Then, one by one, the Osage began to be killed off. The family of an Osage woman, Molly Burkhart, became a prime target. Her relatives were shot and poisoned, and it was just the beginning as more and more members of the tribe began to die under suspicious circumstances. In Killers of the Flower Moon, David Grann revisits a shocking series of crimes in which dozens of people were murdered in cold blood. Based on years of experience and startling new evidence, the book is a masterpiece of narrative nonfiction. So I think this one is going to be a difficult read, with it being a true story of some horrific crimes, but I think a very important story that is still relevant today. I think it'll be really good, really moving, really emotional, but I think it's gonna be a tough read. And let's take a look at the actual book. Let's remove the dust cover. I didn't do that with What the Eyes Don't See. Maybe I'll do that at the end. Oh, that's a beautiful spine. Let's see, so it's this kind of terracotta, almost burnt orange, and the writing on the side is in that gold foil that kind of matches the front cover of the dust cover. That is just a very beautiful book that would look beautiful on a bookshelf just like this. I do like to keep my dust covers though. And then usually when I'm reading a book, I will take it out of the dust cover just because the constant sliding around drives me insane. So when I'm actively reading it, I take it out of the book cover or the dust cover, and then I just put it right back in. So this was the last book. Let me grab the other ones and I'll do a little lineup of them. We had Killers of the Flower Moon, Stephen King's The Long Walk, I guess written as Richard Bachman, and What the Eyes Don't See. I am curious, I do really want to take the dust cover off of this and see. Ooh, it's just a white book. Oh, that's another really pretty one. It's just all smooth white, and then the writing is in silver. So that's another one that would just look gorgeous on a bookshelf. And you can see some of the damage on the book here, but again, I'm okay with that. I saved some money on some used books, and I would rather get them used than new if other people are done reading them. And then the Testaments. I don't know that these are going to fit in the frame. So these are the books that I picked up. And I do usually like to purchase books. There are some books that I have read on my e-reader, but this last year I've really been getting more into physical books. and I just like the experience of reading physical books more. And unfortunately, my local library is very, very small, and I have maybe found one book there that I have wanted to read that's been on my list. So, unfortunately, they're not a great source of books for me, and I do like to own my books. There have been some books where I've read them, and I was kind of like, okay, I didn't really care for that book, I'm okay donating it, getting rid of it. But a lot of the books that I purchased this last year or two, I've held on to and I've kept. And I love the look of bookshelves. I grew up in a family with huge bookshelves and tons of books. So I really like having physical books. So I am very excited about these ones. Yes, stack them up to a neat little pile. Well, I hope that you enjoyed this little book haul with some of my new books, or new to me books. I do think that the Testaments might be my next read, and then I might do Stephen King, and go with my usual pattern of a Stephen King book in between every book. But overall, I think that these all seem like really, really good books. Very interesting stories that I look forward to reading, learning about, even if they're maybe not all good, happy stories. Some tough reads in here, I think. I would love to hear any of your book suggestions, maybe books that you're currently reading, some ones that you've had on your TBR list for a long time you just haven't gotten around to. Please definitely feel free to share any suggestions for me that you think I might like. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you have